American education spending fell by about $600 per student between 2009 and 2014. Meanwhile, public schools are enrolling a growing segment of students who cost states more to teach, English language learners. By 2025, almost 30% of all children in U.S. public schools will be Hispanic. Many of them will be taking classes in English even if they're still trying to learn the language, meaning they need extra help and extra resources. Roberto Ferdman visited one district where that's already triggered a crisis in school funding.
Schools in Dodge City, Kansas look a little different than they do elsewhere in the state. 78% of children here are Hispanic, and almost 60% are still learning English. That's because the city is a major hub for the meatpacking industry, which employs almost 5,000 people, most of them migrant workers who have come here legally. The importance of teaching their kids is something Maria Ortiz-Smith understands well.
Classroom, agree or disagree?
Agree.
Maria used to be one of these children. She grew up here. Now she helps teachers who don't speak Spanish be sensitive to the needs of their classrooms.
Clue words. Yeah.
It's really more of a science. It takes a lot of careful planning, a lot of pictures, a lot of labels, hand gestures, facial expressions, motions, music.
How do you make a kid who's here for his first time feel at home when maybe he doesn't speak English well or he doesn't know anyone at school?
The student needs to understand the process he or she will go through in second language acquisition so that he doesn't feel incompetent or he doesn't lose hope because everything is so overwhelming.
That process, which relies heavily on specialized teaching, is only becoming more difficult. Dodge, which has more poor children and English language learners than any other district, receives extra funding to support them. But most of that money now has to go to basic needs for all students, like teachers and textbooks and other classroom materials. That's because the base amount Kansas pays per student has fallen significantly since 2009. The state was forced to cut its education budget after the recession, but the downturn in funding hasn't stopped, thanks in large part to a series of steep income tax cuts put in place by Governor Brownback in 2012. Brownback said the cuts would boost the economy, but that hasn't happened. Instead, the state has had to make do with far less money than before.
For us, it's meant the difference of several $1 million each year.
For the last decade, Dodge City Superintendent Alan Cunningham has tried to shield teachers and students from the impact of statewide budget cuts, but it's gotten to a point where that's no longer possible. In 2014, Kansas stopped sending districts money for new students. In Dodge, one of the largest and fastest growing counties, that alone has stripped them of another roughly $2 million.
We've reduced support staff. We've had to do away with a lot of our after-school support. We've written some grants to keep some after-school things going, but not nearly to the level we used to.
When does it start to affect the children?
I could say we're to the point now with the numbers of students in our classrooms and the number of students with the needs that our teachers need to be able to address. We're almost to that critical mass. The larger the classes get, the more likely it is we're not going to be able to give all kids what they need.
After 43 years working in the district, he's retiring when the school year ends, at a time when fewer of his students are meeting academic proficiency.
We really don't know what's going to happen. Right now, our state budget is short for this year that ends June 30th. So in the next 6 months, there's going to have to be a decision made on how they address that shortfall.
What are you making?
It's supposed to be a tower, like real big. Whoever's biggest wins, I guess.
For now, Dodge has no choice but to resort to patchwork. Comanche Middle School used to offer several extracurricular academic programs for English language learners. This year, they're down to just one, a 90-minute program where kids can get extra help with homework and spend more time with their classmates.
Interacting with peers is the biggest thing that they do to learn because, that's their motivation.
This is voluntary.
Exactly.
Showing up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nobody's making them come.
40 kids who are like, I want to
Right.
go to an after-school program.
Yeah.
In my experience, that's rare.
It is. It is.
The thing about this program is that the school doesn't even pay for it. It's funded through an independent grant with an expiration date.
This grant, I believe, was a 3-year grant. I'm hoping it will be renewed after that.
There's no guarantee.
No.
That evening, the local YMCA held a community holiday party for Dodge City kids where I spoke to several parents. Many of them asked to speak in Spanish.
¿Y tienes muchos amigos que no hablan inglés?
Oh, pues sí, la mayoría son como yo, hablan puro español.
Juan Torres is a documented construction worker. His son Eduardo is a U.S. citizen. He's also just 2 years old, which means whatever happens over the next couple years could have a profound impact on his education. Like many parents in Dodge, Juan is new and doesn't know a whole lot about the problems the district is facing. But he does know that he wants his child to have the opportunities that he didn't.
¿Por qué para ti es importante que su hijo hable inglés?
Pero yo creo que estando aquí todos lo necesitamos. Pues en todo, se necesita para todo. Hasta por un mejor trabajo en su futuro. Y para no batallar tanto como lo hace uno por no tener la oportunidad por el inglés, ¿me entiende?